Good afternoon. I have finally managed to find the proper place, the proper arrangement, in order to show you one painting which I like very much, which is a scene in which Lord Krishna, known as the Prince Krishna at that time, is fighting during the huge war of Mahabharata, the great in India, the time of the great India, Mahabharata. It is one time when Lord Krishna or rather Vishnu incarnated on earth to help evolution go on in the right way. So in that incarnation, his name was Krishna. And at that time, the big problem that needed to be corrected was the over-dominance of the Kshatriya. Way of being. You know, in the West, we have had also the knights, and the Kshatriya is a warrior, the person who has a kind of temperament, qualities and effects linked with the spontaneous tendency to be a warrior. And it is not that it is bad in itself. It is that, again, like for everything, when it becomes too extreme and over-dominant, and it starts ruling completely the other ways of being, it destroys them. It destroys the balance necessary for everything to evolve on Earth in the correct way. So at that time, Prince Krishna, who was known and respected by the two cousins, the two groups of cousins in the same overall family, among whom there was a problem, because those who were the most still enslaved to their ego and had very strong in them this Kshatriya way of being, refused to give and there were many brothers in that part of the family. They loved power so much, they just refused to give to their 5 cousins, the Pandavas, their rightful part of the kingdom. And even though Krishna himself tried to to bring to reason those cousins who were so fierce and belligerent. They didn't care if that meant a war. They had said to their cousins, even for 5 villages, you will have to fight. So when Krishna saw that it was impossible, both sides, the Pandavas, the 5 righteous cousins, and the Kauravas, much more numerous, very belligerent, wrong ones. Both asked Krishna with whom would he fight, because he was an excellent warrior himself. And he had armies of his own as well, from his own state as a prince. And Krishna to both said, you have the choice. You can choose, both of you, either to have all my armies fighting for you, but not me. Or, second option, to have me, but alone, without my armies, who will fight on the other side. And myself, I will be only your charioteer, the one who will drive you through the battle as being the charioteer, driving your chariot. Immediately, the elder bad guy, Duryodhana, said, oh, Sri Krishna, your armies, please, your armies. He was so blinded by his ego. On the contrary, the Pandavas knew in their heart, knew in the depths of their being that Krishna was not an ordinary person and had something divine about him. And from their heart, the answer was, oh Krishna, in whichever way, we prefer to have you. So it happened like that. And then on the big field, called Kurukshetra, when the first battle was about to start with the 2 armies facing each other. And you see, it was terrible, because actually they were all the same family. The young princes from both sides, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, had been trained and taught by the same teachers in martial arts, archery, everything. They had the same grandfather, who was an exceptional warrior himself. I love that story. So I have to refrain already to give you more details than really necessary now. The important fact now is that Arjuna So one brother among the 5 Pandavas was going to be the one who would have Krishna as his charioteer. They were especially good friends. And just like that, Arjuna told Krishna, please, why don't you drive my chariot to the middle, forward in the field, so that I can see in plain sight our 2 armies. But then, poor guy, when he saw it, he started truly realizing which kind of slaughter was going to happen. And as brave a warrior he was, I mean, Arjuna was the top man. He became so distressed by the very sight of the 2 armies and recognizing on the other side parents, teachers, grandfathers, beings he cherished. And he would have to fight against and eventually kill. He couldn't anymore face such a situation. And he just dropped his weapons right there. And he told Krishna, I can't do that. I can't do that. And from then on, started the talk, actually from the divine itself to that human being, Arjuna, which has become known as the Bhagavad-Gita. It is a talk that's right there in the middle of the 2 armies before that huge, terrible battle would start. The incarnated divine himself gave to a poor human being who didn't understand a thing anymore, and even where his own duty was. So when I came to Auroville, I was in India. I didn't know anything yet about India. But one of the other Westerners who had been around, either in the ashram or in Auroville itself, since longer than me, already knew all about the Mahabharata, and inside of it, that special part, which is a kind of treatise of spirituality, and which is called the Bhagavad-Gita. He was the one who told me, what? You don't know what Kurukshetra is? And he started telling me about the Mahabharata and all this. But then, I'm sorry. Then, on my own, I started wondering what that meant, Bhagavad-Gita. The French translations were very poor and uninspiring. And one day I found out that Gita meant a song. And the full title was Bhagavad-Gita, the song of the blissful one, the divine, as that incarnation, Krishna. What was the specific way of being? That was his divine way. He was the blissful one. So not only when the divine speaks, it is like a song. But it is a song of the blissful one. And you see, because the word Gita starts with a strong G, G, the end of the word just before, which should be actually Bhagavan, becomes phonetically Bhagavat. But the actual name, meaning the blissful one, is Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the name of the divine. So two discoveries of utmost importance for me in that before so an inspiring name, the Bhagavad-Gita. Since then, as you can see from my broad smile, I have come to love that name, that title, what it meant. So, just to give you a visual impression, you see that time, that civilization was quite refined and artistic, and beautiful in its weaponry and the costumes, the habitats, everything. And the arts that we still have from that long ago. And from which this representation has been inspired. And it happened, of course, this is not exactly the moment of the Bhagavad-Gita, because as maybe you can see, this is not before the battle. It is right in the middle of the battle. I'll try to show you more precisely. You can see here the 4 horses of Arjuna's chariot in full gallop in the middle of the melee. And here you have Krishna himself driving the chariot, the 4 horses with a sure hand. And behind, you see, in the chariot itself, in the back, is Arjuna, ready with his bow and arrow. Arjuna is already quite impressive, but I wish you could see the expression on the face of Krishna. Remember, this is in the middle of total chaos. The frenzy of battle on all sides. And I have given you a little idea of what emotionally that whole specific conflict held, at least for those who cared, like the Pandavas from the other side. The young princes were not so sensitive, caring for whoever else. But you see, in this painting, the figure of Krishna stands center, and his face, as usual, is of utmost beauty. But I wish you could see the total serenity, the total peace, the total inner poise that his face radiates. Now, before the battle had started, there was another very important moment. I'm sorry. Voila. I hope you see me again properly. When Krishna had finished talking to Arjuna and explaining to him why this battle, as horrific as it would be, had to be fought. In the end, with a tenderness I loved when I discovered that passage, he spoke to him just as a friend. And he told him, you know, we have incarnated together already many times in human history. You don't remember because your consciousness is only what it is now. But I remember all the times we have already been friends and lived together on earth. Because I come again from era to era. This is my duty. Even though I am the divine, I must participate too and take my responsibility in making sure this process on earth goes right towards its true goal and result, divine result. And then, yeah, I will show you another picture. You see? Yeah. At that point, Krishna gave a darshan of his true form to Arjuna. Oh, maybe I can show you better in this way. You see, at the same time, he was himself, and he was all creatures. He was all those kings and all the other creatures there. And in the whole world, everything was him, and he was everything. So Arjuna fell to his knees in adoration and total love. So this is a form which is called Bhagavan. So please forward. I don't remember if I said anywhere already in my previous videos that one of the first things I discovered in India about the deep wisdom and knowledge, spiritual knowledge that had been acquired over the years in that country, India specifically. Well, there was that basic nature of the divine, essential nature of the divine, which I discovered to be at the same time a combination of those three ingredients, so to say, Sat, Chit, and Ananta. I seem to remember I spoke already of that, but maybe only in French or maybe only in English as yet. Anyway, Sat is being, existence itself, realness. Sat is what is. It happens to be at the same time Chit, which is consciousness. And consciousness, of course, has power. Consciousness, total consciousness means total power. And then it happens to be at the same time also bliss, delight. Delight without any cause, just delight of being. And of being such it and not doubt. So immediately when I discovered that essential nature of the divine as described from so long in India, immediately the aspect of this triune nature that attracted me most was the aspect of Ananda. I said, what? Because, you know, we in the West don't really have an idea of that in our description of the divine, of God the Father, or whatever. So for me, this Ananda part of it was immediately what my whole being longed for, and promised itself that in this lifetime, I would not miss on that one. And I would do all in my power to discover it and to put it in my actual life and experience. You see, today I am kind of bringing together those threads that had been there long before I discovered my name. And long before I even thought of having a different name. As I told you last time, it took me quite a few years before the feeling of needing a new name dawned upon me. But all these things had already happened in my being, which seen later in hindsight were so obviously already the same discovery starting to happen by itself and revealing itself by a very spontaneous, intense need I was finding I had of a certain aspect of the divine. And then some of you may have already since long seen the relationship between Bhagavan, that name of the divine as the blissful one, and the actual name that in 79 came to me, which was Bhaga. But when in 79 I found that name, I didn't see immediately that Bhaga was the very power of Bhagavan. You see, I found out that this suffix ending of the word van is present in many Sanskrit words. And this van means the one, the person who has intrinsically the quality, the capacity, which is the beginning of the word, like Satyavan. Satyavan, full name, means van, the one who is full of, who is intrinsically Satya, the truth. Satyavan. Or Shraddha means faith. Then Shraddhavan means the one who has faith. So you get the point. In all languages, we have like that suffixes, endings, which indicate something like that, one way or the other. So, of course, when I discovered that, then I saw that in the same way, Bhagavan was the one who intrinsically has this power of Bhaga, the power of bliss, but not just the bliss of Ananda in Satchitananda, which is outside of manifestation, of in the essence of it. But Bhaga is that power of bliss in the manifestation. So this is why I became very interested when a few years back I discovered this representation by the same artist, by the way, as the one who has made many other representations, other paintings related to Krishna. I like that style. And so this one was Bhagavan. And what my being aspired, longed to manifest was the power of that bliss, of that delight in here, in manifestation, which is not obvious. As anybody else who is part of the manifestation may have noticed if they have been here long enough already. So I felt today I could give you this additional information about my name, because you see, even in Auroville itself, you have several persons who discovered their name was Ananda, or if they were ladies, it was Anandi. And for each of them, it will mean something slightly different because we are all unique. And in the same way for me, it was not even really in the form of the normal name, Ananda or Anandi. For me, it had to be that specific Bhagavan for power of delight, Bhagavan. That is what Bhagavan is meant to be. So I will end on this. That also for you, you see, even if the name that you already have, you find out to be meaningful enough for you, at least at your present stage of evolution. Don't worry if many other people have the same name, apparently. For you, it will have a unique, more precise meaning. Within the overall meaning, it is more general. And it will be only you who will know the exact nuance which your name has and which indicates your mission, your specific contribution to the world, and your relationship to the divine as a whole. So, oh,